View dashboard. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. Nope, this should just be. So, switched. God damn. All right, come on, get in. I have the boys. Hello, hello, hello. All right, let's. Hey guys, welcome to my stream. Today we're going to be working on a bit of iHog stuff, and just to give y'all an idea of what's going to happen, I want to walk y'all through something that I'm implementing right now, which is my Trello board. Instead of GitHub issues, the Trello board is going to be a little bit easier for me to actually like knock tasks off of. Rather than just, oh, I think I was working on this issue. So it's a little bit easier for me to keep track of. Cool. So to also avoid a little bit of the computer bottleneck, I'm going to do a lot more of the, what do I want to say? I'm going to try to do a lot of offloading from the computer to like my iPad or something like that. That way it's a little bit less of like opening screens, stuff like that. I had already done that by, instead of running the simulator on my computer, I go to a device instead. We'll be using the iPad Pro, the first gen iPad Pro, like 9.7 inch. This guy here. Don't worry, I don't have to hold it up. It's gonna be here. So let's get started then. Just to device. Cool. So I can't, like I said, I set up a Trello board. I mainly set up the Trello board for iHog because like I said, it's going to be a little bit easier for me to see and manage like what I'm doing currently, what I need to do next, what's been done, and then what's currently in test flight at this time. So just to get a bit of an idea of that, let's go through. So here we have my backlog. So we have the whole Trello board here. How this works is your first column, the one that I'm moving up and down right now, this is my backlog. This is going to be exactly like where tasks are that I want to look through and that I want to work on. What this means is that anything in my backlog isn't actually like organized, really. This is just all like wants and wishes that I want to work through. So this could be features, this could be bug requests, that kind of thing. Then the next column, the next, I think Trello calls them list, is the to-do call list. Sorry, one sec. The to-do list is exactly what it says. It's a list of tasks that currently need to get done. I'm treating this as the things that need to get done for the next release. So whether or not that's some design artwork, some artwork that needs to get done, some release notes, all that kind of stuff. That's what the second column is, that to-do task, that to-do list. Then the next column is our doing column, and that is going to be what I'm currently working on. So let's see if that one sec. It might be easier if I do this with my mouse instead. Bluetooth. Let's see if it'll get connected real quick easily. It should, hopefully. Hopefully it does. It's not in range. Cool. So now we get to watch this happen. But that's okay because we're not currently watching. Anyway, so that's not gonna happen. It's fine. No big deal. So then we have our doing, which like I said, is what I'm currently working on at this point in time. Nothing really special there. There, in theory, should always just be one task there that I'm currently working on. Then finally, then we have a done column, and that's not actually the last list that we have, that I have. So the done column is going to be where the apps, so what have I done, what's been done since submitting my last test flight build. So we can see that I fixed a bug relating to the punt page, and then it hasn't actually moved to the testing column, which is saying, hey, this is ready to move to test flight. So since we're all ready to move, and then whatever's inside testing, there'll be a new column every time there's a new release. So right now it's just V 2020.5 because that's the next one. Whatever's inside testing is currently inside test flight that beta users currently have access to. And that's how I'm currently setting it up. I got this idea to go from GitHub to Trello based on listening to Launched FM, or I believe it's just a Launched podcast. Let me make sure that's right. Before I keep going, I just want to make sure that I'm saying the right thing. Yeah, Launched, not Launched FM, just from Launched, hosted by Charlie Chapman. And he actually goes and interviews other, not necessarily developers, but other self-starters to go. So like he had Mike Hurley, who isn't a developer on, who does a bunch of podcasts for the Relay Network. And then he also has had, of course, a bunch of app developers on because he also develops apps. He develops the Dark Noise app. So him and who was it last that I listened to? Him and Alex Hay were talking about how they use Trello kind of in this way. So I was like, ooh, that's a good idea. That could be something that gets me on track with things. So that's why I chose to go the Trello route instead of doing, just doing the GitHub issues. I thought that it might be a little bit easier for me to keep track on. So that's what we're going to do. So since we go in the doing column on Trello, the task in there is to make configuration options work. Great. So that's what we're going to work on today. Because I believe it all works like it should here. I'm going to go ahead and build this. I should have built it once so that we had it running, because it's great. It might take a while because I've actually never built for this device specifically recently. Not never, but not recently. Yeah, so let's wait for it to build and do its thing. Cool. And I'm going to go ahead and just switch right now to code and device so that we can see, what's happening on the device itself, and then also what's happening inside Xcode at the same time. And while that's loading, I can talk a little bit more. I see I have a viewer. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I know that this was really impromptu, so no big deal if you have to leave at some point. Or if you have any questions, drop in the chat. I have the chat open so I can see what you're saying. Yeah. It's still building. So it might just take some time building. Just a little bit overview of iHog itself. It is a app that's pretty much built in Swift, and that is all built in Swift UI. There is no pretty much. So it all uses Swift and Swift UI, as it just seemed like it was the easiest thing to do to get what I wanted to be done. Yeah, so we're just gonna wait for this to finish building. And again, if you have any questions for me while it's happening, please shoot them in the chat and I'll answer. I'm sure banging on the desk is exactly why you tune into a Twitch stream about coding. Man, this is taking actually a lot longer than I thought it would. It's getting hung up somewhere in my Cocoa pods for OSC. Please don't. I really don't want to troubleshoot that right now. All right, so okay, so it's installing now. So it's performing the install actions. I opened it up. So let's see what happens. And it should be running, and it's running on the iPad that is not connected here, which is great. So we waited all that time. I really just need to stop. There it is. All right. Well, so that was fun. That's also probably why it took a while, is because it was building for an iPad that is not connected whatsoever to the computer besides over the network, which could take a while longer. So I killed that one, and now we're actually compiling for the right iPad, which is the one that I currently have connected to that you're able to see right now, the screen with the Mint configuration options Trello card open. That is a open Trello card. I will work on getting that link into the chat, actually. That way, if you ever want to go see that Trello board, you can. Yep. And a cat has joined us now. Apparently she is... Cool. So let me see. I'm working on getting this over to the chat. So if you guys want to go poke around ever, you can. I have it set up as public, and then you guys can, if you have a Trello account, you can go and comment on the cards. You can't actually go and edit anything like around it or delete cards, but you can at least comment on them. And that link to the Trello is in the chat. All right, so now we still have to wait for it to build again. I'm so sorry about that. I should have checked a little bit easier for that. A little bit better. Cool, and we're still just waiting for it to build. No big deal. Oh no. No, it's just waiting for me to finish setting stuff up. Do not disturb. Grant. Still worth it to make sure do not disturb is put on here. We might not get very far in the stream because of time. I just wanted to start working on this a bit and, you know, put out what I've been working on here as well. It's building. It's building. Okay, so we can review some of the code while it's building. So what I have happen is an update punt config based on which configuration option you choose. So basically these are just buttons inside a form. We then say to update and just set for config, we set that config number, which is just an int. We set that config number into the punt config, into user defaults. I'm choosing to use user defaults because this is going to be global and not a per show setting like I had thought originally. It'll just help speed up users' time whenever they want to use this and that kind of thing. So that's why it is going into user defaults versus being stored on like a per show basis here. And show would basically, for you guys not too familiar with like the lighting industry or like running a lighting console, show is kind of like your main folder, your main workspace in this respect. Each workspace could have different objects inside it. So I was planning on originally doing a punt page or a DIY kind of configuration based on what you have actually selected there. But it's actually going to be a little bit easier to not do it that way and to do it as a user defaults. And also I think that'll be a bit easier for the users as well. Is it not gonna... Is that what I have in here? Is that the version? Sorry, I'm trying to check the version to make sure the version on the device matches the version I last just built. Supposedly it does, so that's cool. We're gonna go ahead and increment that to 274. I have that number automatically incrementing based on the number of commits inside the Git repo. So right now that's not, but that only does it on release versions, which we're not doing. So it doesn't do it every time I hit Command B. It just does it basically when I archive to get ready to release it, to push up a version to test flight or to release on the App Store. So let's go back to where we were. All right, cool. So like I said, it does those. So according to my Trello here, I just want to make these texts a little bit better right now. The different configurations, that's cool, that I want right now are going to be text configuration 1. Okay, so they don't have to be the most descriptive. It's just going to make sure that I am selecting the right ones. And then we're going to have fader groups and encoders. Okay, so we have those set. So we should probably make these views now to make it go based off this config option. So in my left hand side I have these views here, and how these views are going to work is punt page. Cool. So I have this main punt page view that inside the app, that's what you navigate to. It's not well, yeah, but why? Down there it should give me a punt page. So why is it not? Doesn't help if I can't see it and navigate to it. So well, let's set that as true for now. The reason why this is false, make false after testing. The reason why that was false is because it's going to be unlocked with an in-app purchase. Now I want to build this again, and while that's building, I actually want to go and add these to Trello before I forget. Is enabled false, and then Oh, punt page settings or something to do here. Yep, so make is enabled false. Is enabled should be false in both. Punt page settings and content view. So like I said, it's going to be based off a in-app purchase. So by default, they should actually be off. And then once you activate the in-app purchase, it's going to trigger it will trigger a user defaults to actually unlock that so that it can go a little bit better. So it can be unlocked. Cool. All right, so now you can see that it's still not. Why is it there? Did it crash? Settings, show. Okay, but why? Oh, because I have it set there. Because if it equals nil, then it because it already ran. We're gonna comment that guy out. Oh, I'm in. Is enabled equals true. Cool, so at the end of this, we'll swap that also. And how I'm going to test this at the end is I'm basically going to delete the app since this is a user default. So when I delete the app, it's going to just completely delete all those user defaults for me, and then I'll be able to test them out again. All right, and it's building, all that good stuff. Cool. And it built, and we know those are here because we get that hello world, and over at the bottom there's actually that command sign, like if you're on a Mac keyboard, and that command keyboard is going to be that punt page that we're looking for, that command sign. So that's great, that's popping up now. All right, so inside punt page is where we need to actually decide, hey, based on this configuration, what do you want to do? Do you want to show the other one? So what we're gonna do is actually format this a little bit better. Nope, go back. Fork. Can I commit? We're not gonna, we'll just do it here, it's fine. So instead of using fork, I'll just use the in-app Xcode's GitHub stuff, or Git stuff. So we'll do adjusted formatting in settings. No, there should be. What? Oh, because I didn't actually. Source control, why? All right, so I guess we will open fork. Sorry, I don't want to mess around with Xcode too much and figure out why. That might be an off-camera type thing. So while fork is loading, we'll just wait here and see what happens. Cool, we'll just let it load, let y'all look at me instead, and because y'all can then see the cat a bit better, that decided to join us in the middle of the stream. She is right here. Her name is Sydney. She is a red orange tabby, and is not red. Wow, she is orange tabby, and she's gonna be a year in July. So we got her as a kitten, and she is super cute and super fun and super catty. Cool. It's just the app itself is just loading, so I can switch that over real quick. So we can see here that it's loading. Just gonna take some time to load that in. Here we go. All right, so now that it's in here, let's go ahead and add these changes. I don't know why these changes weren't in what's its butt, but they weren't in Xcode. All right, and that is push, and that's committed. It hasn't been awesome. Okay, so that's been committed. So let's go on to actually doing the thing now. Okay, so like I said, since we're trying to put in those configurations, let's add the settings here real quick. Oh, I don't need 3. I just need 1. So we're going to go ahead and add in those settings here, and it's going to say, and those are punt page settings. Cool. All right, so inside punt page settings, we are going to just have it be this. Punt page settings just opens so that we can reference it and see exactly what we're calling from the user defaults options. User defaults is just given in iOS if you call it correctly, so that's also another reason why I like to use it. But the first thing we're going to do is make a state variable here. Config, and that's always an int, and we'll just default it to 1, just exactly as we did here. Now what we're gonna do is say exactly this so that we can call user defaults. And then we're gonna make a function inside this view, get config. And basically what we're going to do is use the user defaults config option that we have down here and set that to be our config option. So if defaults dot objects dot object for key punt config. Okay, so we want to say, hey, if that's there and it equals nil, we're gonna set it to be defaults dot set Cool. So basically, if it's equal to nil, then we need to set a default already. And that's going to be we're going to set it to be whatever the config default is, which, like I said, is that 1 value up here. So the next, we don't really need an else, because it doesn't matter. Either way, we're going to just say the config option equals defaults dot integer 4 key quotes punt config. Cool. So now that's just saying, hey, when we load, or when this now we just wrote that function. So now we just need to do it, make sure that it gets called on up here. So when this view is loaded, we're going to call this configuration, this option. Self dot get config. And let's run it real quick and see how that goes. I need to get an actual Stream Deck and not just the app so that it's just running here and isn't having to do anything over the network at the same time. All right, so it says it's running, so I'm sure that'll start soon. It looks like I have a viewer again. So again, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. We're working on iHog here. Yeah. Just trying to implement some new thing, trying to implement that punt page still, and working on getting this to respond to different configuration options. And I have no idea if it actually ran this because I didn't put in awesome. The tried and true method of debugging is putting in a print statement. No, it wasn't even running yet, so that's okay. So we'll build it again. All right, so now that we have this done, the next thing I probably need to do is actually getting these configurations to work correctly. So I have 3 configurations here, one with a fader and lists and scenes. So let's just work on getting this done. So what I'm probably going to do is put in an if statement here that says if man, do I even need this option, these settings? Like, wouldn't it be this my issue is because now that I'm thinking it through on this part, like, I don't know if I actually need a punt page options. If all I'm gonna do is go here anyway, it could just be switches at the top, like how I have here, change show, boom, where it's intensity, position, color, beam, effect. It could just be like config 1, config 2, config 3, or I mean whatever I decide to call them. I think that is what I'm gonna do instead. But still having a config option so that when it's loaded, that's where we go. That's not a bad idea. And this is why it takes me so long to get stuff done. So that was a really good exercise. Stuff that I don't think I'm going to need. So let me see about configuration options still have to work. I need to update this though. Cool. So let me get this updated. Configuration happens on the punt page, page, and not in settings. It will be a picker similar to how palettes currently work. Yeah. Because how that currently looks right now is, oops, over here we have intent. So if I can add palettes here. So now as we go through, it'll switch from beam to effect, and or to position or to intensity. Just kind of depends on what is selected. And if I can remember the last thing I selected, which happens with the defaults, then that works. So we still want to get config. I can close this. I can't believe I wasted so much time on that one. We need to say all right, so let options or let okay, so I know this kind of playback, play and prog programming. The reason why playback's going to be your faders and your lists and scenes options. Play and prog. So that's going to be like if I wanted faders. And what I mean by faders is it's going to be, I already have encoders there. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about that play and prog option. And then programming, it's gonna be encoders. So it's gonna be like this, these 5 encoders here. Probably gonna rotate them to be up and, nope, leave them like that. And then I'm gonna put buttons to access all this other stuff. And then on the other side, it's going to be like groups and scenes. I mean, groups and lists. Groups and palettes. That is exactly what I mean, not groups and lists. Cool. So let's keep this going here. Cool. Okay, so this is done. This isn't completely done. But we're going to put this into a VStack. Okay, so inside this VStack, that'll happen. But now we need a picker, and I want to open that over here. And it is going to be in hardware, but front. Nope. Groups, palettes. Is that it? Nope, this is the actual palettes inside. I need small. Nope, large. Okay. Picker, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, so we're going to say the picker. For what is my text here? It's just gonna say punt page config. And then and we're probably just going to go for another like 17-ish, 15-ish more minutes, probably like closer to 15. Spend a couple minutes talking at the outro. Yeah, that sounds about right. Another 15-ish minutes. And then, yeah, we'll probably pick this up on Monday at 6:30. So the text in this picker is going to be self.config options at bling 0 dot tag bling. Why I did it though. You shouldn't need that. And then let's apply a picker style. It is upset. Because my computer's a little bit slower, it is not letting me, the like auto complete and auto detection doesn't completely work all the time. See, that's what it's working. That's what it's doing right now. So that's why I have to build a little bit every time. Cool. Let's rebuild. So what I did here on the right is I changed the state selection to B5 to just go to punt page. Just because that's where we're working, so it's going to take, so it'll be a little bit easier to get to and from. I'll need to change that back before, I won't actually commit that, so that whenever I go, so I can just discard that at the end of the day and it'll start doing what it needs to do. By default, it should go into the settings option instead. And then on the left-hand side here, so I'll explain how the picker works while we're working on, well, the setup's working on getting this all done. You have the picker, and it says, hey, so when you pick something, where do we want to store that selection? Well, obviously we want to store it into the config option. Then, which is going to be 0, 1, or 2. So this will be, I'll have to do some kind of math here to figure that out, which one's chosen. And then we can do, and then it says, it really wants a label just whenever we're ready to put one in, if we wanted to. Also accessibility reasons. Then it says so then we have to supply data for the picker to actually happen. So what do we want inside that data? Well, here it says playback, play and programming. And so we basically said for each index from 0 to however many options we have inside the config options array, then we're going to put in a new option. So from here, it's going to just go and say, great, at bling 0, meaning while it's counting, so at 0, then we go put in that option. 1, we go put play and programming, and then 2, we go put programming. Great. Then we put in the tag of bling 0. So tag is kind of how we can just trigger which one's actually selected. Cool. And so now that we've implemented that picker, we need to change something when that happens. So we need to actually build the views of that changing. So the views, so that when I select playback, you know, it's the playback view that I was imagining with the faders and the listen scenes next to it. When I select play in programming, I want play in programming, so that kind of thing. It's also why there's so many views over here on the left that I did. So let's try, I bet I can get the playback side done on the punt page. New file. It's gonna be a Swift UI view. Excuse me. All right, so I made a new view here. All right, so I do kind of have actually what I want here for the front panel playback. So that's master hardware. Oh, what does the small look like? I think I actually want the playback small on this side. So because I broke everything up, it makes it a little bit easier to just call the pieces that I actually need versus calling everything, versus like having to make it all from scratch, which is nice. So let's see if I build that guy. And then let's go back into punt page. This will have to be in an H stack at some point so that I can put that next, the right hand side that I want next to it. But that should be fine. Cool, it's running. So let's see here. We want if all right, so we're gonna build that real quick. So again, like I said, because I went and I made everything super broken up, it hopefully is a bit easier to actually figure this out now. Yeah, it might make life a little bit easier. We'll see if it actually translates pretty well, because the small views are more so for the iPhone than they are for like an iPad like this. But because it's kind of split in half, it might work a bit better. Yeah. That does what I want. Yeah, and it gives that option here. So when you hold down choose, you can do that. Cool. Sorry, I had to pause there to yell a bit at the dog. So, let's see. I don't know if I have, let me just make sure that's on code. Yeah, code and device. Cool. So it looks a little bit stretched out on the iPad because it's not like directly in the middle, but that's okay. We're about to actually go fix that. H stack. Cool. Playback small. That's gonna be on the left. What else did I say? Oh, listen scenes. So let's go see what the listen scenes look like real quick. What my options are there. So that's under playback list scenes. I wonder if I can. Let's just try putting the big one in there right now. I don't care. I don't use the preview function that comes with Swift UI, as most people do. That's like one of the main reasons people like using Swift UI. I don't like using it, mainly because my computer's not fast enough to keep up with it. And this is another view that you have to have a show selected to actually utilize. So that's going to be another thing, kind of like how I've set up already for the groups and the palettes. Like you'll have to have a show already picked to actually utilize any of this. All right, and then after this one, we'll see where this ends. I'll probably end up writing the last thing I did inside that Trello card today. That way it can be picked up tomorrow again. All right, so we're gonna go pick a show real quick. First, cool. And then I hit add list. Oh, that's nifty. So then I could go in here because it lists here playback objects. Set that to 2 across. Save. Who are you talking to, Sydney? Cool. Okay, so because that's 2 across, save. Going back here, going back to playback. That did not save that whatsoever. Okay, so I don't know why that's not saving completely, but that's interesting. But then that gives you what I would expect control-wise. Oh, it just hadn't repopulated, that's why. But that's, you can still slide those wherever you want. Send it the goes, next page. Cool. Screenshot this. Awesome. So that looks great. And that is actually a perfect stop for me right now. I just gotta figure out those, like, why it wasn't doing it until it remade, but that's no big deal. So I've stopped that guy. Let's go back here. Cool. So thanks so much for sticking around with me. I really appreciate it. Watching me fumble through that a bit. I gotta get these updated to GitHub. Looking good. I'm just mark that as looking good. I know that's the best GitHub response someone could probably ever want. So when I go check this later, I'll know exactly what's happening. Great. Again, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me that whoever watches this, whether you watched it live or you watched it on YouTube, it's all great, and I love when people watch. I got a new follower since the last time I streamed, so thanks so much to Fiona991. I really appreciate it. As per usual, these will be on YouTube afterwards, so I'll go ahead and get that downloaded from Twitch soon and to put on YouTube, hopefully before the stream on Monday, probably right after. If you feel like supporting me in any way, I am currently affected by that COVID-19 stuff that's happening. Just got a little bit reduced hours at work, no big deal though. But if you feel like supporting me, going to patreon.com or slash apps by MW or buymeacoffee.com slash apps by MW, and actually donating some money would be great. Yeah, so again, thanks so much. I really appreciate y'all watching, and we'll be back on Monday at 6:30 Central Time.